Hello, and a very warm welcome, each one of you. I assume that I had my audio off. So, welcome once again. And we are reading this amazing book, The Power to be Disliked, The Courage to be Disliked, a single book that can actually transform your life. And we are here to read The First Night today. Let's quick. I have already. I'm sharing the screen, and let's see what does the author has to share. The first night, Denny Trauma. The young man entered the study and sat slouched in a chair. Why was he so determined to reject the philosopher's theories? Well, his reasons were abundantly clear. He lacked self confidence, and ever since childhood, this had been compounded by deep seated feelings of inferiority with regard to his personal and academic backgrounds, as well as his physical appearance. Perhaps, as a result, he tended to be excessively self conscious when people looked at him. Mostly, he seemed incapable of truly appreciating other people's happiness and was constantly pitying himself. To him, the philosopher's claim were nothing more than the stuff of fantasy. So, this was the condition of the boy who was sitting next to the philosopher, and that is why he was, constantly poking him and telling him that, whatever you are telling is something fancy, it's not real, that is not how world works. And let's understand the unknown third giant. I think when I think of the unknown third giant, it has to be something that is stopping you to be the bestest version of yourself. Let us see what does the author has to share. Youth. A moment ago, you used the word another philosophy, but I have heard that your speciality is in Greek philosophy. Philosopher. Yes, Greek philosophy has been central to my life ever since I was a teenager. The great intellectual figures Socrates, Plato, Aristotle. I am translating a work by Plato at the moment, and I expect to spend the rest of my life studying classical Greek thoughts. Youth says, well, then what is the other philosophy? Philosopher. It is completely new school of psychology that was established by the Australian psychiatrist Alfred Adler at the beginning of the 20th century. In this country, it is generally referred to the Adlerian psychology. Huh. I never have imagined that specialists in Greek philosophy would be interested in psychology. Philosopher. I am not very familiar with the paths taken by other schools of psychology. However, I think it is fair to say that Adlerian psychology is clear in the line with Greek philosophy, and that it is a proper field of study. You. I have a passing knowledge of psychology of Freud and Jung, a fascinating field. Philosopher. Yes, Freud and Jung are both renowned. Even here, Adler was one of the original core members of the Vienna Psychoanalytic Society, which was led by Freud. His ideas were counter to Freud's, and he split from the group and proposed an individual psychology based on his own original theories. Youth, individuals, psychology, another odd term. So Adler was a disciple of Freud's. Philosopher. No, he was not. That misconception is common. We must dispel it. For one thing, Adler and Freud were relatively close in age, and the relationship they formed as researchers was found upon equal footing. In this respect, Adler was very different from Jung. who revered Freud as a father figure. Though psychology primarily tends to be associated with Freud and Jung, Adler is recognized throughout the rest of the world, along with Freud and Jung, as one of the three giants in this field. Okay, so this is the third giant, the Jung, the Adler, and the Freud. Youth. I see. I should have studied it more. Philosopher. I suppose it's only natural you haven't heard of Adler. As he himself said, there might come a time when one will not remember my name. People might even have forgotten that our school ever existed. Then he went on to say that he didn't matter. It didn't matter. The implications being that if his school were forgotten, it would be because his ideas had outgrown the bound of the single area of scholarship and become commonplace, and a feeling shared by everyone. For example, Dale Carnegie, who wrote the international bestseller How to Win Friends and Influence People and How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, referred to Adler as a great psychologist who devoted his life in researching humans and their latent abilities. The influence of Adler's thinking is clearly present throughout his writings. And in Stephen Covey's The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, much of the content closely resembles Adler's ideas. In other words, rather than being strict area of scholarship, Adlerian psychology is accepted as a realization, a culmination of truths and human understanding. Yet Adler's ideas are said to have been 100 years ahead of their time, and even today we have not managed to fully comprehend them. That is how truly groundbreaking they are. Youth. So, your theories are developed not from Greek philosophy initially, but from the viewpoint of Adlerian psychology. Philosopher. Yes, that's right. Youth. Okay, there's one more thing I would like to ask about the basic stance. Are you a philosopher or you are a psychologist? Philosopher. I'm a philosopher, a person who lives uh, philosophy. And for me, Adlerian psychology is a form of thought that is in line with Greek psychology, philosophy, and that is philosophy. All right, then, let's get started. Then the first thing that he asks is why people can change. So what do you think? Why people can change? I think change is the only constant that we know. People are changing every single day. Our skin, our cells are dying every single day, and new cells are being generated. We as humans are aging. That is also a change. So let's see what does the philosopher has to share with the youth on this. Youth. First, let's plan the points of discussion. You may say, you say people can change. Then you take it a step further, saying that everyone can find happiness. Philosopher. Yes, everyone without exception. Youth. Let's save the discussion about happiness for later and address change first. Everyone wishes they could change. I know I do, and I'm sure anyone you might stop and ask on the street would agree. But why does everyone feel they want to change? There's only one answer, because they cannot change. If it were easy for people to change, they wouldn't spend so much time wishing they could. No matter how much they wish it, people cannot change. And that's why there are always so many people getting taken in by new religions and dubious self-help seminars and by any preaching on how everyone can change. Am I wrong? Philosopher. Well, in response, I would ask why you are so adamant that people can't change? Why do you think that people can't change? The philosopher wants to understand the youth. And the youth says, here's why. I have a friend, a guy, who has shut himself in his room for several years. He wishes he could go out and even thinks he would like to have a job if possible. So he wants to change the way he is. I say this as his friend, but I assure you he is very serious person who could be a great use of society, except that he is afraid to leave his room. If he takes even a single step outside, he suffers palpitations and his arms and legs shake. It's a kind of neurosis or panic, I suppose. He wants to change, but he can't. How many of us know that we need to do something better to have a better life? And yet, we do not take the actions. And that is why basically that we stay stuck at the places we are. The philosopher then again asked this guy, the youth, what do you think the reason is that he can't go out? Youth, I'm not really sure. It could be because of his relationship with his parents or because he is bullied at school or work. He might have experienced a kind of trauma from something like that. But then it could be the opposite. Maybe he was too pampered as a child or can't face reality. I just don't know, and I can't pry into his past and his family situation. So the philosopher says, so are you saying there were incidents in your friend's past that became the cause of trauma or something similar, and as a result, he can't go out anymore? And the youth says, of course, before an effect, there is a cause. There is nothing mysterious about that. Philosopher, that perhaps the cause of his not being able to go out anymore lies in the home environment during his childhood. He was abused by his parents and reached adulthood without ever feeling love. That's why he's afraid of interacting with people and why he can't go out. It's feasible, isn't it? Yes, it's entirely feasible. I would imagine that would be really challenging. Philosopher. And then you say, before an effect, there is a cause. Or in the other words, who I am now, the effect, is determined by the occurrence in the past, the causes. Do I understand correctly? And the youth says, you do. Hello, Anshika. Thank you for joining in.
Hey, you are only one?
Yes, I am reading the book
That,
alone today.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. Yeah, continue. I'm walking. So I will hear and then I will give whatever input I do need to. But I will keep my camera off.
Sure, sure, sure. So the philosopher says, so if the here and now is everyone in the world is due to their past incidents, according to you, wouldn't things turn out very strangely? Don't you see? Everyone has grown up abused by his or her parents, would have to suffer the same effects as your friend and become a recluse, or the whole idea just doesn't hold water. That is, if the past actually determines the present and the cause controls the effect. The youth says, what exactly are you getting at? The philosopher says, if we focus only on past causes and try to explain things solely through the cause and effect, we end up with determinism. Determinism. Because what this says is that our present and our future have already been decided by past occurrences and are unalterable. Am I wrong? So this guy is telling that since Anshika, you have just joined, the youth is talking about this guy, his friend, who does not come out of his room because of his certain reasons, and he has shut himself down in the room for several years now. But he wants to change. He wants to step outside the room, but as many times he tries to step out of the room, he suffers palpitation and his arms and legs start to shake. And it's a kind of like a neurosis or a panic that this youth understands. And he wants to change, but he can't. And for that, this youth is saying that maybe he had a bad past, a very traumatic childhood, because of which that person is this way. But the philosopher is, talking about ki agar if everything is caused by the past, that means that our future is also predetermined. And he's asking, am I wrong there? The youth says, so you are saying that the past doesn't matter. Philosopher says, yes, it is a standpoint of Adlerian psychology. So this philosopher talks from the Adlerian psychology. Psychology mein two people have been very popular that he has talked about was this Jung, Freud are the two people, and then Adlerian has come later. Adlerian psychology has come on later. So youth says, I see the standpoint of conflict seem a bit clearer. But look, if we go by your version, wouldn't that ultimately mean that there is no reason my friend can't go out anymore? Because you are saying the past incidents don't matter. I'm sorry, but that's completely out of the question. There has to be some reason behind his seclusions. There has to be. And there would be no explanations. The philosopher says, indeed, there would be no explanations. So, in Adlerian psychology, we do not think about the past causes, but rather about present goals. Youth says, present goals. Philosopher says, your friend is insecure, so he can't go out. Think about it the other way around. He doesn't want to go out, so he is creating a state of anxiety. Think about it this way. Your friend had a goal of not going out beforehand, and he has been manufacturing a state of anxiety and fear as a mean to achieve that goal. In Adlerian psychology, this is called teleology. So this is very interesting. There are times when we keep on cribbing and crying about the past कि हमारे साथ ये हुआ था इसकी वजह से हम ये नहीं कर रहे हैं, but Adlerian psychology says that we are deciding in that moment because we all have a choice. If you have a choice to step out of the house and you're not stepping out of the house, that is a decision that you are making, right? And you are creating your own thoughts in a way that causes anxiety and fear in your soul, because of which you end up staying inside the house. Youth says, you're joking. My friend has imagined his anxiety and fear. No. So, would you go so far as saying that my friend is just pretending to be sick? Philosopher. He's not pretending to be sick. The anxiety and fear your friend is feeling are real. On occasion, he might also suffer from migraines and violent stomach cramps. However, these two are symptoms that he has created in order to achieve the goal of not going out. Youth says, that's not true. No way. That's too depressing. And philosopher says, no, this is the difference between etiology, the study of causation, and teleology, the study of the purpose of a given phenomenon rather than its cause. Everything you have been telling me is based on etiology. As long as we stay in etiology, we will not take a single step forward. And we have Muskan as well with us now. Just before we are going to wrap up. All right. What is it that you gauge from from what I read, Anshika, if you could understand?
For me, like we know this, but yeah, we keep forgetting like our past should not govern our future. So what happened in past happened. So if you keep sticking in past and then decide all the decisions based on that, your future will be also pretty much reflection of what you did in past or what you experienced in past. And the conversation between the philosopher and the boy was really nice. Like it was very, for me it was like, visually I can see those people talking, and then he's putting his point, okay, this is how you're supposed to live, and then he's giving all the reframes about, like if this is true, then it should be valid for everybody. Like one, you are choosing to live in past, so all the people who experience the same thing should have the same experience as you, but it doesn't happen.
Yes.
So that's what is my takeaway from here.
Wow. And I felt as if, how they say that our mind is a making machine. वो एकदम इससे ना क्लियर सा हो गया कि यस यार, आई मीन, so I got an opportunity to speak somewhere today, and I was not talking to my husband about it. I told my kids about it, and my daughter is like, aren't you going to ask Papa? And I'm like, अभी 3 दिन होके आई हूँ, अगर अगले हफ्ते फिर से कहीं गई तो he might not like it. I don't know. But why was I stopping myself? My daughter went into, to Neeraj, and she was telling him, you know what, Mummy has got an opportunity to speak somewhere, and this and this and this. And he's like, wow, what an opportunity. And I was like, wow. Why was I stopping myself from telling him? And that's what we do all the time. We make our own thoughts make us stop us from doing something that can be incredibly fantastic. This was such a beautiful
Yeah,
emotion you
so true. Yeah.
expressed.
And congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, Muskan, go ahead, please.
All right, Muskan, would you like to share something? I don't know what, but from whatever you have heard from me and Anshika, maybe you can bring out something.
I remember one beautiful line which Vikas sir has said in the before sessions, that once we jump into the sea, we come to know that we do not know. We have to learn. We
Hmm.
have to learn more. Like uh, एक टाइम आता है ना जिसमें हमने कुछ पढ़ लिया, वी थिंक कि हमें इसके बारे में सब कुछ पता है, हमारी तो मास्टरी हो गई है. बट वंस वी जम्प डीप इनटू द सी, वी कम टू नो अच्छा अभी बहुत कुछ सीखना है. So that is the main point, which I never shared as a takeaway also before, and which I remembered when she was saying that yeah, youth was telling, and philosopher was saying that this is not, अभी इतना भी नहीं है, अभी और भी बहुत कुछ है इसके आगे. So in the same way, even I find that depth in you. Whenever I talk to you, there is a depth inside you. You know, you are just like a sea. जो बाहर there is like लहरों का शोर, and once you speak from your inside, I get so much pulse whenever, this is the reason I talked in the afternoon also, that when I have to do the next payment, and he said no, अभी नहीं, अभी तो खत्म भी नहीं हुआ.
Hmm. Well, all right. I wish you both would have joined in, like at the right time, I would say. I kept waiting for actually quite long. And my daughter was also sitting with me, ki chalo, I'll sit in your lap till your, students come in and this and that. I was like, okay. And after a certain time, I had to tell her, now you go, I am going to do it, and I'll, close the session. But this boy, the youth that earlier इससे पहले, when we started reading about the unknown third giant, this book was telling that his reason for rejecting philosophers' theories are abundantly clear. The reason is he lacked self-confidence, and ever since childhood, this had been compounded by deep-seated feelings of inferiority with regard to his personal and academic backgrounds, as well as his physical appearance. Perhaps as a result, he tended to be excessively self-conscious when people look at him. Mostly, he seemed incapable of truly appreciating other people's happiness and was constantly pitying himself. To him, the philosopher's claims were nothing more than the stuff of fantasy. उसको ये लग रहा है कि सब कुछ फैंटेसी वर्ल्ड का ये बोलता जा रहा है, and there is nothing that it does not have weight. ही इज जस्ट टॉकिंग। वो हम कभी कभी कहते हैं ना कि ये तो अच्छा गुड गुड टॉक है, बट रियलिटी में तो ऐसा हो रहा है ना। रियलिटी में तो मेरे साथ दिस इज हाउ द कन्वर्सेशन इज हैपनिंग with the youth and the philosopher. And I'm looking forward to read about the trauma does not exist tomorrow.
Wow.
And this is going to be very, very nice that trauma actually does not exist and people fabricate anger. Abhi fabricate anger mein, I think I have fabricated anger a lot. So when I got married, as I read this, मेरे को ऐसे ही दिमाग में आ गया. When I got married, I was never angry at whatsoever happened around. And my mom was like, कभी कभी ना दिखाना पड़ता है कि you are angry, and for that you have to either make a face that is angry or you have to walk in a way that people know. At least if you're not shouting and you're not saying anything, at least people should know from your body language that you're not like it and you are angry. एंड माई हस्बैंड स्टिल laughs at me कि जब इसको गुस्सा आता है धड़म धड़म करके चलती है ये. एंड आई एम लाइक, एक्चुअल में दिल में तो कभी गुस्सा नहीं आया, बट चलो हाँ, यस आई डू इट. आई कीप टेलिंग माई किड्स, पता है मुझे गुस्सा आ नहीं रहा था, बस जस्ट एक्टिंग की, पता तो चले बंदे को कि मेरे को गुस्सा आ रहा है. उसकी बीवी भी नाराज हो सकती है. So it will be a very interesting read. I would love to understand what do they say about this. But for tonight, that's all. And we have read around 10 pages of this book, The Courage to be Disliked. Anshika, I'll be sharing the PDF with you personally. And what other book PDF do you need?
Oh, last we were reading Mountain is You, right?
Yes.
So that too.
ठीक है, I'll share that.
And the
And
PDF of Eat the Frog also.
Eat that frog. Okay, I'll do that.
And like I want to share something. Mm, can we मतलब recordings अगर हम
Okay. Thank you for joining in. Good night. Take care. And don't forget to share whatever you learned, although you came in late, but yet, कुछ
they
एक
learned.
भी पसंद आया होगा तो share it in the group. All right. Bye bye.